We are joined again with Kamal Saleem, and we are learning about his life as a Muslim. Today, we are going to hear about his involvement with the Muslim Brotherhood and the PLO at the young age of 7 years old. Stay tuned for this incredible account. I'm very happy once again to welcome Kamal Saleem to End of the Age. Now, Kamal, in our previous program, you were giving us a background, and you had me sitting on the edge of my seat because I've got so much to learn about Islam. I mean, we're talking about a religion and a system that controls 1/4 of the world's population. That's massive.
Correct.
So, and yet we know so little about it. Now, one thing that we're told repeatedly by our leaders, especially Christian leaders, is that, well, look, Jews, Muslims, Christians, we all worship the same God. I'd like to know, do Muslims really believe that?
Well, we need to see what Allah said. Let's put it to the test. Because we can speculate on anything, but let's hear what Allah said in the Quran. He said, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْمُسْلِمُونَ. Muslims, say this to the other. لَا أَعْبِدُ مَا تَعْبِدُونَ. We do not worship what you worship, nor you will worship what we worship. And I do not, follow and worship what you worship, nor you will follow and worship what I worship. You have lakum dinukum waliya din. You have your own belief, you have your own system of belief, and we have our own system of belief. That's called the duality of Islam, meaning Allah said and this was specifically to the Jews first and to the Christians second, telling them we are not the same. So Allah said we are not the same. So when a Muslim tells you we worship the same God, it is not truth, because the Quran said it otherwise.
Now, I have heard that the Quran teaches that it's okay to lie if it serves the purpose of Islam. Is that true?
Absolutely. It's in the Quran, it's called al-taqwa, meaning, it's in righteousness, and what is righteousness is al-taqwa, meaning, and that's a doctrine, it's called al-taqiyya. Al-taqiyya is to lie by omission. Why they have to lie by omission? Because when Islam came about, it introduced itself, and the Jews and the Christians refused it, and so Muhammad destroyed the element of all these, and then he went the entire Middle East and what so have you, and we know that. 270 million people were slaughtered by the sword of Islam. And so what happened is when Islam came about and the Jews and the Christians refused it, then Muhammad says they are at war with us, because I am the final prophet, I am the final belief, I'm the final religion. So what happened, he said, al-harbu khud'a. That's in his tradition. That's a hadith they refer to, which is traditions. He said, war is a deception. So what is righteousness is to lie to your enemy, to deceive them, and why you want to deceive your enemy? To destroy them.
I was in Turkey many years ago, and we had a very nice young man as our guide. Mm-hmm. He was a Muslim. Mm-hmm. He stood up at the front of our bus. He knew that we were all Christians. And so he gave us his name. He said, now, I know you're all Christians. He said, I'm a Muslim. But he said, before you can be a good Muslim, you must first be a good Jew and a good Christian. Well, my ears perked up. I was saying, what is this man saying? He said, because we believe in Jesus. We believe that Abraham was a prophet. We believe Moses was a prophet. We believe Jesus was a prophet. And we also believe that Muhammad was a prophet. So I asked him, I said, well, you believe Jesus was a prophet? He said, yes. I said, well, do you believe Jesus was the Messiah? He said, no, we don't believe that. I said, well, he claimed to be the Messiah. Does that mean he was a false prophet? And he looked stunned. He said, I'll have to ask my mother. He'd never been asked that question before.
That's what we learned from our mothers.
Yeah, and so consequently, when everybody started teaching, I mean, I heard President Bush, George W. Bush say it. I heard Barack Obama say it, that Jews, Muslims, Christians all worship the same God. I thought, wait a minute. And so I asked a Muslim, do you believe Jesus is God? He said, no. I said, but wait, we Christians, that's what we believe. We believe Jesus is God. They don't believe Jesus is God. We can't be worshiping the same God.
Yeah. The Quran says, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say, Muslim, God is one. Allahu Samad. لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. He never been married. He never delivered children. And there's none beside him. So Allah is one, so he never had anyone next to him. So to say that Allah is a spirit, that is hard for the Muslim to swallow. If you say Allah has the Son of God came and walked among us, it's hard. And the Messiah to them, he is a Muslim Messiah. So meaning they believe in Jesus Christ, but they believe as Jesus Christ was a prophet, and he was born of a virgin birth, but he was lifted up. He was not crucified, just like Elijah was, lifted up and he was raptured. So is Jesus, Isa. They refer to him as Isa al-Masih, which is, Jesus, the one who cleansed the sin. They believe in his miracles. They believe in everything that he did. They believe he never sinned. They believe that he came from God, and and the Quran says, وَأَنزَلْنَا فِيهَا مِنْ رُوحِنَا. Ruh means spirit, and God sent his spirit to Mary and got her pregnant. I'm going like, well, that is the spirit of God. When I was Muslim, I'm going like, that is the spirit of God. And if the spirit of God birthed him and he doesn't have a daddy, then God is his father, just like Adam was created in the beginning. And I was looking at this as a Muslim, but I have to believe Islam because...
So God was starting to deal with you way back then, wasn't he?
Yes, but I was afraid because the highest sin in Islam is to question the Islamic teaching, because you have to believe the Islamic teaching verbatim. So therefore what happened is, Allah, the God of Quran, says, وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ, meaning the Christian and the Jews deceived, but Allah also deceived, but Allah is the greatest deceiver. He referred to himself, I am the greatest deceiver.
Now, Kamal, I want to make sure that everybody understands. You're telling me that Muslims deny that Jesus died on the cross.
Yes.
They do not believe, everything about Christianity hinges on that fact.
Correct.
That Jesus was the Lamb of God, who was the sinless Lamb, and he voluntarily offered his life so that we wouldn't have to die. He died in our place.
That's right.
They deny all of that.
They deny that because they believe when the Messiah comes back again, that he is today with God in paradise. And they believe, so he's seated up there with God, in paradise. And that's where Allah resides. And so that's amazing to me. And so therefore that when he comes, he will come as a Muslim prophet. Because even though they said there's Moses, Elijah, all those prophets, but they believe Allah is the God of those people. So all these prophets were Muslim prophets. They were not Jews.
Okay. We've got so much on the table here, and we're barely getting started. Let's back up, though, because we want to hear the Muslim Brotherhood took you under their wing.
Yes.
And they're starting to tutor you to make you what they want you to be.
In their image.
Yes. So
now I've been taught, and the teaching is how to control the nations, how to expand Islamization, how to do dawah, when to be peaceful and when to be radical. All this were taught to us, but also how to infiltrate the Western civilization, because we believe that if America does not exist, then the Muslim can take the whole world. But because of the United States of America, today that is the greatest Satan. And the second Satan, the smaller Satan, is Israel. So we had these two big enemies, and they were trying to prune specific people, people like me, those that they are easy to turn around, easy to really create, to infiltrate cultures, to infiltrate Western civilization. So therefore what happened is I was trained how to infiltrate the culture, how to be part of the culture, how to marry into the culture, how to obtain the American citizenship. But one day we had a visitor. His name was Abu Yusuf. Abu Yusuf was a leader under Yasser Arafat. He was his right hand in Lebanon. And Abu Yusuf taught a message. He said Islam never became powerful, just because it's religion. Religion was part, but the greatest authority and power of the religion is in war. When we learn how to war and put our enemy in intimidation, and that is spirit of terror. And so therefore what happened is he was from the PLO. And so therefore he invited the Muslim Brotherhood, and at the end of that week, the whole group went and joined the PLO. I was 7 years old. When I went to the first camp, I was trained to be a martyr. I was trained to be, how to give my life so the actual mujahideen can really fight and kill the others. But I have to open the door for them. So this is how it started.
So when we say PLO, I want to make sure that our audience understands we're talking about the Palestinian Liberation Organization.
Correct. And I want to make something very specific. At that time, the PLO was not called the PLO. They were called Fatah, meaning, the one who opens, they open the door to Jerusalem, of course, and all this to reestablish, Israel as an Islamic state. So, but that was under Yasser Arafat, and that is from the Quran given to him by the Muslim Brotherhood. It's called Surah Al-Fatih, the book of opening, and so they gave it to him. So therefore what happened, we were trained under the Fatih group that later on the whole thing became the PLO, Palestinian
So
Liberation.
at the age of 7, you became a member of the PLO.
Yes.
All right, we're going to learn more about this. We have to pause just a moment for a short break. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back there.
As Christians, we are called to witness the good news of Jesus Christ to all people. However, sometimes we struggle witnessing to Muslims. What do they believe? How can we reach them? Kamal Saleem was trained to know his enemy and to hate his enemy. He was taught that his main purpose was to change the world for Islam. After a severe accident, his life changed forever. In Unveiling the Ugly Truth, he explains the threat of Islamic extremism. In Unveiling the Beautiful Truth, he gives hope for Muslims' redemption. And in The Red Chair, Kamal tells his riveting story. These lessons will open your eyes to a greater understanding of Islam and will help you to know how to reach Islamic people. Order your Taking Christ to Islam set now for an exclusive price. Go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. Get your copy today.
The End Time Prophecy Tour was the most wonderful tour. I would like to thank Irvin and Judy Baxter for a fabulous trip to Israel. I know it took much effort and planning to make it successful. What a tremendous time we all had, which warrants a great big thank you. You can't encapsulate it into words. You can't capture it with a photograph. You just have to experience Israel yourself. The Queen of Sheba said, "The half has not been told." I concur. What an awesome experience to visit the land of Bible history and see it come alive as you walk its paths. I shall be forever changed. Dale from Louisiana.
Join us October 25th through November 5th, 2018. You too can experience Israel with Irvin and Judy Baxter. Go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463 to sign up today.
In case you're just joining us, my guest today is Kamal Saleem, and he's telling his story. He was born to a Muslim family in Beirut, Lebanon, and he's telling us his story. It's so incredibly fascinating. We're picking it up right now. At the age of 7, he has now joined the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. So continue on.
So I went to the training camp, and the training camp called Sabra, as you hear the name Sabra in Israel.
You're at a PLO training camp at the age of 7.
7, yes.
Incredible.
I shot my first AK-47 at 7 years old. It was the first toy I ever had. It was all about how to kill and how to destroy. You know, and I was chosen among many people to go on my first trip to Israel. We were gonna, Hafiz al-Assad, father of Bashar al-Assad, gave us green light, you know, to go all the way to the Golan Height and go through the Golan Height tunnels, dressed as a Bedouin children, carrying knapsacks on our back to take weapons and to take ammos and take explosive to a group called Fidaiyin, meaning Mujahideen, or you know, the martyrs. And what happened is we dressed like shepherds, you know, children, Bedouins, and we rendezvous with the shepherds, and the shepherds would take those knapsacks from our back, we'll strap them on the belly of the sheep, and they take them to the places where they need to take them to, giving the weapon to the Mujahideen, so the Mujahideen can terrorize the Jewish people. So when I came back home, I was hailed as hero. I was celebrated. And that was really one of the best things that I became a recruiter at that time. I was recognized as somebody special that is not afraid of the enemy, that can devastate the enemy. But then I was 8 years old, and now I'm sent again on similar mission to the Golan Height, but this mission was so different, you know, and so I was older. I recruited several children to go with me. One of them was my next door neighbor, which is I promised his mom that I'll bring him back home alive. And so therefore what happened is when we went to Israel, they knew about what we're doing, and they hit us with everything they've got. That day I was crying mama, and I was seeing the children being killed. They were just falling all over the place. Mortar shells were coming down, and a sniper were hitting, and bullets were coming from everywhere. And so Muhammad took shrapnel. It went through his esophagus and then went through his back. Muhammad fell to the ground, and I'm crying mama because I don't know what to do. That's why I called my book The Blood of Lambs, because the blood of lambs of the shepherds' blood was mixed with the babies, with the little boys. All of it was same blood. We're laying next to each other, lambs and children. We were used to establish terror, and we didn't know what terror was.
So the PLO and the Muslim Brotherhood knew that children were a good disguise.
Yes,
So
because
you
the
could
Jews would
take-
not kill children.
So you could take weapons in, but somehow the Jewish people realized what was going on.
Yes.
And this time, these children that you had recruited, you're going in there, and now you're coming under attack.
Yes.
And you're hit.
Yes, they're hit. I was not hit. And I was crying so bad that I was crying for my mama. And when I saw Muhammad dead, you know, on the ground, I threw him my back, you know, the way we carry, you know, injured. And I thought maybe if I ran back to the tunnels, maybe I'll save his life, because I made a promise to his mom that I'll save his life and that he will come alive. And that day, he became my shield. As I'm running away, the bullets were hitting him. The shrapnel was taking. His body weight was coming lighter and lighter as he was reduced, you know, he's losing blood and different things. And I could not find the tunnels. And then finally the Syrian army started exchanging, you know, fire with the Jews, and then we crossed over, and I was talking to Muhammad, and Muhammad was not to be found. And when I came back to Lebanon, the only two came back, it was me and him. And his mother said, "You promised you'll bring him back home alive." I said, "Well, he's alive today in paradise. He is sitting with Allah, and he is wedded to virgins, virgin women. And these women today, he has obtained the highest level of heaven." And his mother, instead of crying, she shouted like the wedding shout that they do in the Middle East. And the second day she had a wedding ceremony, you know, for her son, that he is wedded to paradise, and he is married to virgin women in heaven.
And the tragedy is, people really believe all this.
Yes, we do. We did. I did.
Yeah. I've read a lot of stories about young people, 12, 15 years of age, going away to commit suicide as suicide bombers, and they'll actually make a video before they go.
Yes.
Telling how happy they are.
Yes, because that's a witness, so they can use it to recruit other children. And, it all starts at the house when you're an infant. It's embedded within your system by your mother milk, and then it's taken to a new level. When the mothers are seeing their children die and they're celebrating, they wish they have more children to give. My brothers would not do something like this, but I was willing to.
Wow, well, I've read these testimonies where after the news comes back that the young person had committed suicide, they'll throw a big party, give candy to everybody.
Candy, tea, cookies,
yeah,
and it's a wedding feast. So they take them all over the street, and they carry them, and they're doing wedding ceremony, and they're celebrating. They are crying out to Allah, celebration, and this man or this, boy become a martyr. His name will be on walls and his pictures, and he will be recognized like as a saint because he's a martyr. And so everybody, that's the highest level of Islam, if you want to please Allah, to die for the sake of Allah.
I heard Muslims say, you Christians worship life, we Muslims worship death.
That's right. That's exactly right. Death is their way to go to the promise. My mom used to tell me, she said, this is the Christian and Jews' heaven, but this is our hell on earth. But when we die, we go to our heaven and they go to their hell.
Amazing. Okay, we certainly covered a lot of territory, and you're only 8 years of age by now, so
yes.
Can you take us on?
Yes, my life took me through the civil war in Lebanon, which has lasted 14 years. And I was going different places. Now I start working for bigger guys. I was trained to raise funds for Yasser Arafat. And I was sent to Saudi Arabia. And I got my first check for $70,000 from an emir, which is a prince, for the mission. We used to go and meet with these people and try to really solicit funds, because the Quran says everyone has to be involved in jihad. But there are those who will send and those who are sent, but which part are you? So that's what we really put, which part, we will do it if you allow us to. So they wrote the checks because their name want to be written in heaven the day that I die. They'll be part of that martyrship. And so my life was taking me places, and then I realized that the Saudi is where the money is. And now it was changing my philosophy. I'm thinking, if I go to the Saudis, and the Saudis, they come to know me, then we can spread Islamization all over the world. And so therefore, until one day I was commissioned by the Saudi prince. His name is very well known, all over the news if I say it, but for the sake of things, I'm not going to. And what happened, he said, would like to have you working for us. They sent me to Afghanistan the first time, and I was in Afghanistan when I realized that the American CIA over there were willing to give their life for the jihadis, while the Muslims were not. And so I sent the letter to the Saudi. I said, this war is lost because the American willing to give their life and their blood and their monies and their children. We are willing not to do anything, so therefore we are going to lose this war. So they sent me to Europe. I was sent to England, and in England we worked Europe, and things worked through ships over there, through waters, how things enter the countries and leave the countries. That's most of the weapon, most of terrorists come through those places. Ships are uniquely used for that purpose. And from there, I wrote a letter to the Saudi. I said, England is falling, England is falling. It's a matter of time before England's fall, because they have bigger God than God himself. These people do not worship. They worship ale and they worship the soccer ball more than they worship God. So England's falling. Then I was commissioned to come to the United States of America, and that's when I entered my mission field, and that is the Great Jihad.
So you were sent to England, and then you were sent to the United States of America, and your goal was to infiltrate here and to spread Islam through the United States of America.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's do. We're out of time in this particular program, but we're not finished. Ladies and gentlemen, don't miss one of these segments because this is so amazing, and we need to know this. So, Kamal, thank you very much for all this information.
Thank you.
But we'll be right back here, our next program, to give more information. We really need to know these things because ultimately we want to learn how to win them
Amen.
to Jesus Christ. That's where we really are going.
Amen.
So we'll do that next time.
As Christians, we are called to witness the good news of Jesus Christ to all people. However, sometimes we struggle witnessing to Muslims. What do they believe? How can we reach them? Kamal Saleem was trained to know his enemy and to hate his enemy. He was taught that his main purpose was to change the world for Islam. After a severe accident, his life changed forever. In Unveiling the Ugly Truth, he explains the threat of Islamic extremism. In Unveiling the Beautiful Truth, he gives hope for Muslims' redemption. And in The Red Chair, Kamal tells his riveting story. These lessons will open your eyes to a greater understanding of Islam and will help you to know how to reach Islamic people. Order your Taking Christ to Islam set now for an exclusive price. Go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. Get your copy today.
Have you always wanted to know more about Bible prophecy? Well, now you can. Attend a prophecy conference hosted by End of the Ages, Irvin Baxter, or Dave Robbins. Call 1-800-END-TIME or go to endtime.com/events to see when Irvin or Dave will be at a location near you.